Awesome. Fantastic. Well, there's a lot to cover, I know. And I think probably first and foremost, I want to jump in with omnichannel and data. And Sherry, like the contact center has very specific characteristics. One, we have multiple human channels. So we have voice and chat and SMS. And then we have all these different digital channels, everything from social listening to chatbots and voice related chatbots as well. So this is complex. And not only that, we have quality management and data that comes from assessing the conversation. We have workforce management, and now the interjection of AI and all the data around that. So maybe Sherry, you can share what those attributes mean to you around data acquisition and analytics.
So when you talk about omnichannel, honestly, there's a lot that you kind of think about, similar to what you said, Frank. It's about finding the balance of the human, the digital, about gathering data from the right sources, taking them through kind of the right data sets, visualizing them in the proper ways. Now, where you find a lot of challenges is trying to create kind of that unified experience across channels. Now, when you talk about a unified experience in the world that you live in today, you might have a conversation that starts on a chatbot on a website. It may move on to a voice interaction on a phone call, and it may lead to a booking on a mobile app. What's really essential in omnichannel is ensuring that you have context throughout that journey. So there's personalization that carries on from that chatbot to that voice interaction. And it's super important that you don't always ask the same information points from that customer again, because that can create frustration. We all have those examples where we may call a bank and they push us from department to department. You have cold transfers that take place, and it builds frustration. Consumers don't want to repeat themselves, especially not in the world that you live in today. Other things to really think about is data complexity. Now, you want to make sure that all the data that you have from all of your different touch points are all in one place. You want to ensure everything is real time. You want to ensure you have no real silos and data moves smoothly from your digital channels to your human channels. Now, again, a lot of people are moving towards AI, but you really have to strike a balance between the human and the digital. Using AI could mean providing more scalable solutions, 24/7 support, but that empathy and that understanding really comes from a human touch. So you want to ensure you have kind of that perfect balance of the two. The other thing to kind of think about when you talk about customization and customizing experiences is the debate of privacy versus personalization. Now, it's very, very important to have a personalized campaign, personalized targeting, but it's also really important to ensure that you meet data security regulations, you adhere to privacy regulations, and more importantly, the ever-evolving regulations, things like GDPR and other political regulations that you really need to think about. And lastly, kind of again within the omnichannel space, is ensuring you keep up with technologies and training. So you have new solutions that come out every day. You want to make sure you stay ahead of the curve. You want to ensure you invest in training. One of the examples we often talk about is there are still some airlines today that use things like voice prompts. And what that means is when you want to change a flight, you spend 30 minutes yelling on the phone trying to speak to someone human. Now, if you invest in the right types of solutions, that experience will get a lot smoother and it'll become a lot easier to keep that customer without frustrating them. So just some points to kind of think about within the omnichannel world.
That's a lot. And I think that for the most part, people want to look at data in a simple way, but the complexity of it and the increasing complexity of it works against that thought and that desire. And maybe the contact center is not an easy subject. In fact, the lack of data insights is the number one pain point for contact center operators and business leaders alike. It is a serious problem to be solved. And companies want automation. They see that as part of their future. They see that as part of gaining efficiencies. But before you can execute on that mission, you need to understand the data first. There is a first step. This compounding of voice data, digital experiences, maybe you can speak a little bit to what happens as you're driving hundreds and thousands of lines of data and its relationship to complexity.
So again, kind of like you mentioned, a contact center has a lot of different types of data. So it has a lot of expansive data streams now. You have call data, chat data, email data, other types of interactions. The challenge there is not only having all those different types of data collected, but storing it, managing it, and retrieving it in a very effective way that can help you with future visualizations and decision making. And this is a very big struggle that a lot of organizations face. And it's not just the different types or the volumes of data, it's also multifaceted data types. Now, what that means is you could potentially have voice recordings, you could have transcripts, you could have chat logs, agent notes. Processing, analyzing that kind of data requires very specialized tools, very specialized guidance. Some of the ways that you can make your life easier is by using integrations that you have available today. So in a use case, let's say you're using a RingCentral contact center. Now, how you can make your solution a little bit more robust is potentially integrating with something like Microsoft Dynamics. What that allows you to do is you can now make and receive phone calls right out of Dynamics, allowing your agents to put notes within Dynamics. And now you have a central customer profile, all calls, all information recorded in that one place. What this helps you with is also you avoid things like channel fragmentation. So one of the issues that you have today, again, just thinking about volume and complexity, is you have a lot of different channels of data. Now, you may think, how do these channels talk to each other? Surprisingly, in a lot of solutions today, they won't talk to each other. You would need to build smart integrations. You would need to think about smart APIs that can really connect those things together. And that's where you have solutions like a customer data platform around that can help you connect those various sources of data together. Other really important things within kind of volume and complexity is really thinking about real-time data. Now, in order to make your decisions, you may need real-time data today, right now, maybe to think about how many agents that you want to employ in your particular contact center at every given hour. If you have a very high call volume, you may need to increase or reduce that workforce. So there's a demand for real-time data now. But again, with the volume and complexity of data, the challenge that you're presented with is, what does that data actually mean? You need to think about how you really slice and dice that data and really take out meaning for it. Within the data world, Frank, you and I always talk about context. And in a lot of solutions today, even in the reporting solutions that you have, context is often missing. You have large volumes of data that you're looking at a very high level, and you're making sweeping decisions around your business without really thinking about the context of it. Like a customer complaint that you get, is that a genuine complaint? Conversations that are taking place within the contact center, what's the sentiment behind them? So you need to really think about the context to really make the smart decisions that would help you in the longer term. I'd actually like to share some dashboards that might help kind of further our conversations as well. I have a dashboard that we created for a couple of clients. And what's interesting in this particular example is you actually have all of your different contact center metrics placed in one space. You have the ability to slice and dice your data. So you can select different date ranges you want to work with your data on. You can select a particular branch. You can really drill down to phone numbers. And at a high level, it gives you all the KPIs that you might need. Inbound calls, abandoned calls. You also have the ability to see all of your real-time active calls. What's also really interesting here is you can actually look at busy hours. Now, what busy hours allow you to do is you can actually see the time of day, the time of week that users tend to be busy. And again, this comes back to contextual data, understanding that, hey, maybe 11 a.m. is a busy time. That would allow us to have a higher workforce at that period. Taking a look at after hours or before hours reports would allow you to make a lot of insights as well. You also have compiled reporting that you can do, and all compiled reporting really does is it gives you a breakdown of information based on a particular branch or based on a particular segment. What's also really interesting about Power BI and dynamic visualizations is all of this data can be secured. So depending on who logs in, you can give them a completely different customized feed of information present.